Really pleased to say that we're joined by Erica from the Careers and Enterprise Company and Kim, and Erica's going to be leading the main part of this session, which is going to give you a proper tour of the Employer Standards Framework. You're going to hear an insight from someone who's already used it. You'll get to see the key features of the tool. There's going to be plenty of time for questions and discussion, and we're also going to give you an opportunity to get registered and have a look at it, and even get started using the tool yourselves this morning. We'll finish with handing over to Danny Barry. Sorry, he'll be sharing updates of some activity on the hub we've got upcoming. So please stay on to the end of the meeting. And there's also a super quick evaluation we would like you to do right at the end. So once again, thank you for being here. Thank you for support you give to our schools, and I hope you found the session useful. I'm going to hand over now to Erica to get us started. So I'm just going to stop sharing and hand over.
Great, thanks, Michelle. I'm really excited to be here today and to have the time with you all. I know how valuable your time is, and you give a lot of it already to the schools locally in Lancashire. What I wanted to do today is really to take you through our introductory session on the employer standards, so that you know more about it if you want to use it yourself, but also so that you can support your wider employer networks to understand a bit more about it and how it might be useful to them, and how it could be useful for your school or college that you're matched with. If they're working with a lot of employers, maybe they're thinking about the quality of the provision that those employers are providing to those young people. Again, this is a free resource and tool that's available to any employer, so it may be useful to some of the employers that are supporting the setting that you're working with. So I'm just going to take you through a bit of an introduction. As Michelle mentioned, my colleague Kim is here as well from the Careers and Enterprise Company. Whilst I'm presenting, I'll be able to see less of you in the chat. So Kim, if you can let me know if questions are coming up as I'm going through or in the chat, then you can just pop off mic and alert me to those so that I don't go past them. So the Employer Standards for Careers Education, shortened to Employer Standards, is a framework and self-assessment tool that's developed by the Careers and Enterprise Company. And it's really, as Michelle outlined, helped there to help improve the quality of employer engagement with schools, special schools and colleges, aligned to our mission to help every young person find their best next step. So what we're going to cover today is just a brief overview of CEC and our role, because you're all enterprise advisors and you know quite a bit about Careers and Enterprise Company. That'll be very brief. Then I'll just want to start with why we developed the employer standards, and then I'm going to do a quick introduction to the framework and the tool and how they're different. And then want to talk you through how it can enhance the impact of work and have a look at the free resources. Do a very brief overview of some of the insights that we're now getting. We've got over 1,600 employers who have used the tool so far, which means that we're starting to be able to use this as one of the data sets that really helps inform our work. And then we can talk about next steps for you in terms of what you might do with this knowledge and using it yourself or with other employers or your school or college. So just wanted to start, you'll have seen this many times with your support for the hub, but just a reminder that you're working in your local careers hub at CEC. We are supporting nationally as the national body for careers education in England. And that mission there, which you will have heard, is we want to really ensure that we work with schools, colleges and employers to help every young person find their best next step. Now, in terms of how we work as the national body, and then you are supporting one of the place-based careers hubs that we have, that we work in partnership with. There's 44 careers hubs across England, so you're one of those careers hubs in Lancashire. And as we work in partnership here, careers hubs are run between CEC and either a combined or local authority at that partnership level. And the careers hub team are really responsible for driving forward that quality careers education in the region, and they do that by providing support and challenge to almost all schools and colleges and thousands of employers. What we know, because we get the data back from all 44 of these careers hubs and publish in a lot of our publications you may have seen, is that careers hubs have been shown to improve careers provision and outcomes for young people, and we've got that data over many years now. So the work that you're doing is contributing towards that. And then nationally, what we do is we train careers leaders. We provide that quality assurance and impact data from schools, colleges, young people and employers. I'll just pause there in case you've got any initial questions about our national role. I guess because you're all much more used to this because you're supporting the hub, you may have less questions, but I just want to make sure there's an opportunity. Don't think I can see any hands up, but if you have any questions as we're going through, please do let me know. So on to the employer standards. So why did we develop the employer standards? Really, our ambition has been to codify best practice so that all businesses can learn from it. That would be from seasoned professionals wanting to sense check their current programmes and their approach to an employer entirely new to engaging with education. The framework that we've developed provides a clear roadmap of what leads to positive outcomes for business and young people. And really our ambition has been to articulate that best practice, but really to ensure that we are supporting employers to develop and continuously improve their approach. And so ultimately that leads to us raising the quality of employer engagement in careers education. And that's where this has been built from. I've worked for CEC now for, it's going to be this summer, scarily quite a long time, almost 8 years, before careers hubs were actually in existence. And I started with a regional role, and I used to go around the country, and a lot of employers would say, we've got the Gatsby benchmarks, but how do we know that what we are doing is of high quality? How do we measure it? How do we know if it's right for our sector? How do we benefit from all of the knowledge that you're gaining from all of these 44 careers hubs and the work that's happening? And after we'd been in existence for about, I think it was about 3-4 years, we decided that the next step was to really see if that we could produce something that would support employers to do that. And then we went on to developing the employer standards. So we really did go about this with an open mind, and we asked the question continuously, do we need another benchmark, framework or online tool? And we asked this and we got a resounding yes to the answer, because employers felt there was nothing specific to careers education to help them review, collaborate and improve their approach. So we developed the framework and tool through consultation and pilots, with the principles really being that it was evidence-based, it had to be relevant to all business sizes and sectors, and it had to be aligned to other frameworks that are on the margin of ours. So really making sure that they could be combined within that, and it wasn't a replacement of those. And employers were really clear as part of this consultation that it should be a simple tool using self-assessment for the purpose of improving an organisation's own approach. So not a verified process which resulted in a public ranking. So that was very clear when we were going through this process. We didn't want to submit information. It didn't want to be a really long process. And obviously with that public ranking, there'd be a lot of documentation, a lot of verifying and checking. This has been very much built as a self-assessment to improve impact and make sure that you could decide what you wanted to do next as a business. So what are the employer standards? There's two things. So firstly, it is a framework. So even if you're not self-assessing and you do nothing else, if an employer is coming and they've never done any outreach in careers education, it is a simple framework which is written in a language for business, which gives you an idea of, if I'm going to go and work with a school or college, doing some careers education outreach, what do I need to consider? And that's based on 3 pillars focused on inspiring, preparing and collaborating. The second thing it provides is a free online self-assessment tool, which we're going to look at today. And that provides real-time results based on your answers, helps you compare to others, and then it provides you with that roadmap of resources showing you how to improve. It also helps us to surface some of that best practice. So this is the framework. It's just at its top level that you can see, and on our website, when you go and look at the employer standards, and on the portal you can download the sort of the steps below these high level 9 elements of the standards. So the 9 standards are grouped under 3 pillars, as I said, the first one being inspiring young people for their best next step. And this means providing meaningful opportunities to help young people see and experience different sectors, businesses and the world of work, ensuring no young person is left behind. And if you think about the work that you do as an enterprise advisor, providing meaningful opportunities would be that benchmark 5 and benchmark 6 activity, those encounters and those experiences. It then means being inclusive. So ensuring that all young people are reached, especially those with the most barriers. So in all of that outreach and those meaningful opportunities, are you making sure that you are making those opportunities inclusive and including all young people? And then the third element here, which often can be quite a challenge, is making sure that you're actually evaluating that outreach and improving your approach through feedback from young people, teachers, parents, and your own employees. So the second section here is career readiness. So this means getting involved in developing the skills of young people and showing their relevance to the workplace. Many of you may work with Skills Builder or look at the essential skills. So this is really looking at those essential skills and making sure young people have got the chance to develop them and practice them. There's the next standard here, so standard 5, is preparing young people for job applications. So really thinking about those application processes, thinking about things like mock interviews, exposure to assessment centres, an understanding of social media's role in recruitment, and really making sure that employers are supporting young people to think about this. And then the 6th standard there is making sure that you are raising awareness of the different pathways there are into work. And that means highlighting pathways into jobs and careers and helping to set those young people up for success. And then the final pillar is collaborating for success. So standard 7 is really partnering over the long term. And so that means building long-term commitment and sustained relationships, which all of you are doing in your roles as enterprise advisors. You're building that long-term relationship with schools and colleges in your area, bringing careers from the margin to the mainstream by offering experiences of work to teachers and embedding those careers in the curriculum. And then partnering with others. So really that's where you're doing that collaboration between those teachers, parents, carers. And then finally, valuing the engagement. This is a really important standard. It doesn't align to any of the Gatsby benchmarks, but is very specific to employers. And this is where we really see that unless an employer is embedding this work in their business and their values and into their strategy, it's unlikely to stay long term. It might sit with one individual who's very passionate. So this is really about supporting them to think about, how is this aligning? Is it aligning to their recruitment strategies? Is it aligning to social value? Is it aligning to CSR? Is it aligning to their DEI strategy? And just making sure that that is linked through so that it becomes a priority for the business. So this framework outlines what best practice looks like. It allows businesses to continuously learn and improve through shared knowledge, practical resources and tools. But what it's supported by, which is the second step, which we're going to talk about and show you a bit more detail today, is a self-assessment. So when you're working in schools and colleges already, this is a self-assessment that asks a series of questions that really helps employers to focus on the actions they want to take and what they want to achieve. Kim, do let me know if anyone's got any initial questions as I'm talking through, because at the moment I can't see the chat or hands up. So the standards is supported by a self-assessment, and it asks a series of questions that helps employers focus on the actions they want to take and what they want to achieve. So the framework underpins this self-assessment tool, and this, what you can see on screen at the moment and what we'll take you through earlier, is the landing page for the employer portal, and that hosts your self-assessment tool, and we'll have a look at that after I've finished talking you through what's there. Just to really reassure you as well, and if you're having conversations with other employers or if you're having conversations with your school and college, the data is secure and ISO compliant and government cybersecurity certified. So any data that you put in here is safe and compliant with ISO. So this is what you see when you've registered and when you're starting the self-assessment and what it looks like. The questions are very factual. So like, as I said, you don't need to submit any evidence. So it's really your self-assessment, but it's going to ask you things around what type of experiences or counters do you offer? And then there are also more qualitative questions along the line as well. So it'll be talking about the way you do things. For example, do you ask a school or college about the cohort that you're going to be engaging with so that you can adapt your session? And within the answers are always, yes, you always do that. Yes, you sometimes do that. No, but maybe you're thinking about it soon. No, never, or it might not be applicable to you as a business. You don't need to provide any evidence because it's that self-assessment, and the tool is really for your benefit as a way of doing that improvement and making sure that you can reach quality. When you assess as well, it's important to say, and we'll take you through this, there is a different self-assessment set of questionnaires, whether you are an employer who is a sole trader or a micro or small business. So up until 49 employees, that you would be given one self-assessment, and then there's a second self-assessment for medium and large employers. And that's just so that it can be tailored to the fact that you might have slightly different setups in the way that you run your business. And then once you've completed the self-assessment, which takes about 25 minutes if you know the answers, you can also pause whilst you're doing the self-assessment and come back. So there's plenty of time and you can download the questions beforehand. You get your results immediately. And you can see here, you'll get your results so that you can see how you're doing against each individual standard. There's 9 of those, and it will tell you whether you are aspiring, achieving, or exceeding in each of those standards. It will also give you the opportunity to compare your results. So you can compare your results by size of business, as I just said, so you can see how you're comparing similar size of business, those in your sector, because when you register, you put what sector you're part of, and then also in your region. So you'll be able to see how you're doing against other employers in the Lancashire region. And so it gives you all of this so that you can get a bit of a measure of the quality of your engagement. And then also what it does here in terms of those scores, where we would like to see at CEC is that we get all employers to achieving. It's quite a wide range there from that kind of 50 to 89%. That's where we'd hope all employers get. And aspiring, it probably means you're just starting out, or perhaps you haven't prioritised that yet. In achieving, that means you've got really good quality delivery. Exceeding is where you obviously had that as a top priority for your business. You focused on it a lot, and we don't expect all businesses to get to that point, which is why we've called it exceeding rather than something that's an expectation for all businesses to get to. Once you've had your results there, the most important bit for us is that you then get your recommendations report. And within this, you get a rationale for each standards, and you get three types of resources for each standard that you can access. And I'll just take you through in a little bit more detail what they are. So for each of those standards, you would get a document that's tailored to your size and your score. So if you got aspiring, you'd get one set of resources. If you got achieving, you'd get another. And what that does then is it gives you an evidence pack. So why does this matter as a business? If we're doing this, why should I provide meaningful opportunities? If you want to build a business case, talk to others in your board, maybe talk to those in your business, really get people involved. It provides all the evidence of why it's really important to do that standard. You then just get a 1-page, and we tried to build this so it wasn't so overwhelming. So it's a 1-page roadmap so that you can make improvements on that standard. And that is tailored to something you could do today. So something really quick and easy, something you might want to think about in the next 6 months, and something you might want to think about over the next year. So really giving you some sort of easy steps you can do to make some improvements. And then it gives you some case study examples. So this is really about supporting you to learn from others. And as we said, this is an improvement tool. So this would give you an opportunity to learn from peers. So for each standard, you would usually find video case studies, and there will be 2 video case studies from medium and large organisations, and at least 1 case study from an SME as well. And that's really so that you can hear how somebody else has done it, take some of their ideas, think about if there's anything there that you could learn. So there's those 3 types of resources that you can access. And I think an important thing to say here is, as a business, all 9 of those standards are not going to be your top priority. So when you get your results, you can think, am I surprised by anything? For example, is developing essential skills for young people my top priority, and it's actually lower than I thought it would be? That's what I'm going to look at first. I'm going to look at the resources for that standard, and I'm going to see if I can have some quick wins to make improvements. We wouldn't expect you to go and use the resources for all 9 standards at once. We'd expect you to tailor it to yourself. And this is incredibly important, that this is self-led for business, that you choose what is your priority as a business, where you think it's going to really support you in terms of what you're trying to achieve for that year. Some other features that you can access, so there is a multi-site functionality. So this means that if you're a business that has sites all over the country, or you have different offices, you can sign up and you can share your results between departments or sites within an organisation. So that feature is available if that's something that's appealing. You've got a lead and actually you want to see all of the sites and share, which might enable you to share best practice between sites if you see that one site is really strong on something that another site wants to improve on. You also get a progression dashboard. So that helps you to see visually how you're improving across the standards over time. So if you take this yearly, or say you wanted to do it in 6 months' time, you'll be able to see how you've progressed on each standard over time. And then we have been adding additional resources where we spot trends. So over time, as this has built up, we've spotted trends where perhaps nationally employers are not doing as well on one standard. We will then use that data to say, right, they might need some additional support, and we add in additional resources where we see it's needed. So just a bit of information on who's used the tool so far. So we've had over 1,600 employers using the self-assessment tool. We're really pleased that there's a really strong mix between large and medium-sized employers and small and micro employers, which are the two self-assessments that you can take. But you can see overall, in terms of an SME, 45% are SMEs that have used this tool. So we've reached our aim of making sure that it is used by employers of all different sizes. The most pleasing thing here for me is that when using the tool, 99% plan to go on and make improvements based on what they've learned and that self-reflection, and that's what it's built for. So that's really great to continue to see that. And when you're thinking about, oh, would it be interesting for me to compare against my sector, you can see there we've got some, they're the kind of main groupings of sectors who've used it so far. And there's obviously more than that, but they're the largest groupings where you would be able to say, actually, I can compare myself against 215 other manufacturing organisations that have used this so far. So in terms of thinking about what employers are saying about this process and what they've said, you can see some of the most common things that we get fed back. So we can see that, seeing the results is really helpful for that clear prioritisation. It helps people think and reflect a lot. Providing some of the ideas and the resources, and then making sure that you can think about the kind of questions that you might be asking yourself. But rather than hearing more from me on that, I wanted to stop here now and hand over to Steph Hayes, who's the Learning and Development Manager at Preston City Council, just to hear your reflections on using the tool.
Yes, so we first started using the tool a couple of years ago. We was developing our offer to schools, and it was a really good way to understand where we were as an organisation at that point in time. We have since then taken the information it fed to me and developed in not all areas, but certainly I'm just kind of going through the self-assessment again, and I can already see that we've made improvements on where we were 18 months ago. I am no way, this is not my whole job. So this work experience and this is just a part of my job. So just having something to feed into, to read from, to support me in that way and support the organisation has just been kind of invaluable, really.
That's really helpful to hear, Steph. I think that's sort of why we built it again. So it's less about you need to do all of this and more of a support and help. So if you've got this on the side of your job, if you've got this, even if it's a majority of your job, if you're doing social value, you're also going to be doing lots of other things outside of careers education. And I think that's the bit for us, is that we want to give you all the information you might want to know for best practice, but then you choose the pace at which you go at, you choose which resources you use, how you can prioritise that. And I think that's a really important point, because we're not, as a national body, saying we expect you to move and make improvements at this pace, just more use the tool, check in, and then it'll help you just think about those things that are most important to you.
Absolutely, and that's what it is. It gives you something to look at and be realistic. There are some things in the tool that probably as an organisation we're never going to be able to develop because we can't because of where we are, but it certainly allows you to focus on those areas where you know you can make improvements and you know you can have some real impact on the young people across Preston in our example, but across Lancashire for most of the people on the call.
Yeah, and I think that's really helpful. And I think that's sort of a distinction probably in your roles as enterprise advisors is probably the sort of difference here is that we absolutely would love to see everybody getting to achieving on all of those standards, but we don't expect that kind of consistent improvement. And I think that's the thing. It's about what works for you as a business and where can you have the most impact, and you've got particular priorities of what you want to achieve for your outreach. Let us help you get there quicker with the kind of knowledge we've got on quality so that you can do that. So I think they're really good points, and I think important for us as you're maybe using this with other networks, or if you're talking about this to other employers or with your school and college, that it's really clear it's a tool for support, not a tool for any sort of judgment or pushing people to go beyond what they can do.
Yeah, absolutely that.
Great, that's really helpful just to hear, and hopefully we'll have some chance for more questions and sharing. Just to sort of finish off this part before we have a look at the tool live, I mentioned that we developed some additional resources where we saw gaps nationally. So 2 guides that you can access through the employer standards when you've got in your recommendation report are on standard 1, so providing meaningful opportunities. Obviously, you all know that's a really high priority at the moment with the government's ambition to reach those 2 weeks worth of work experience for young people, and the changes to the Gatsby benchmarks that came out this year, and that multiple experiences for young people. And then standard 5, preparing young people for application processes, which is consistently scored as the lowest standard since we've been rolling this out. So we wanted to provide some more support so that if employers wanted to focus on these areas, they could access that. So you can see here an overview of our standard 1 employer guide to providing meaningful opportunities. So this was developed in partnership with the employers that you can see on the screen there, and it was available since December 2024, and really supports aiming to support employers of all sizes and experience levels. So what you can access in that guide is inspirational videos, ready-to-use templates around providing experiences of work, project brief examples that other employers have used, frequently asked questions, and this is accessible to any employer, as I said, once they've taken that self-assessment via the recommendations in standard 1. And then the second guide, so we launched this, which is a 9-page guide on standard 5. So that's really about preparing those young people for application processes. This guide was developed in partnership with an employer advisory group that included Accenture, BAE Systems, Berkeley Group, Capgemini, CIPD, Trust, Lloyds Banking Group, Framestore and Mace. And then we added some additional resources from some of the other employers you can see on the screen. And what it really did was, working with that group, they worked with us to say that what they really think about is those 4 key building blocks of an application process, which young people typically face, how employers can prepare them for each of those stages. For example, many outreach activities are focused on CVs and interviews, but less on those assessment centres, psychometrics and recorded interviews. And the guide talks about ways that employers can help with each of those stages. So again, that is available when you get your recommendations. And then I've talked about there's over 1,600 employers that have now used the tool. So what that does is it allows us to look at what insights we can take from that at an aggregate level. And as I said, again, we never look at individual employers. We don't even look at individuals from sectors. It's very much on an aggregate level that we're looking at this, but it really supports us to think about the support the national body can give employers, and how we can feed this into what is needed for the system. And so this year's report was published in January, and I was just going to talk about the findings of the year's sample with you, and some of the kind of key insights we got from this year's report. So you can see the main findings are split across 3 areas of insight. So the first was that engaging with careers education positively impacts recruitment, workforce diversity and talent pipelines. None of this is particularly surprising, I imagine, for any of you, but what it did do is give us some really good evidence to show that that is the case through the data that we've got. Insight 2 is that focusing outreach on building those essential skills like teamwork and communication is a really cost-effective way of developing future talent. And then the third insight was that adopting a strategic approach leads to scale and impact. And that's really linked to that standard 9, and how do we make sure that we're really embedding what we're doing in the strategy for business. And just to give you a kind of excerpt of those insights, as I said, that were published in January. So this is from Insight 2, focusing outreach on building essential skills as a cost-effective way of developing future talent. What we saw here, and you can access this, and there's some really great evidence points for the kind of work that you're doing as enterprise advisors, is that employers that offered any type of workplace experience who self-assessed were on average 77% more likely to report business benefits, so benefits including enhanced talents pipelines, than those that were not offering workplace experiences. So some really powerful data there. And employers who are helping young people understand how essential skills are used and valued in the world of work are almost more than twice as likely to report reduced recruitment costs. So 19% versus 40% there in terms of reducing their recruitment costs. And then employers who provide young people with the opportunity to practice and progress against those essential skills are 72% more likely to say that young people's employability skills are improving as a result of their engagement in as a business. Which again, when I talk to employers, you know, getting young people to be work ready, getting them having those employability skills is something that often employers will talk about. So showing that actually making sure that you embed that in your outreach can have that real impact. So again, you can find all of that on our website in the report, but it's helpful, just a few of those things are really helpful to draw out. So that's enough of me talking. What I wanted to do, as Michelle said, was offer opportunity for you to think about how you can get registered if you haven't started a self-assessment. So a few of you have, I guess, Michelle, you've thinking about whether we can just do a bit of this just to get you registered and started. So I don't know if you all, if you're on laptops or computers, want to just put that into your laptop and just go to the site there. And I'm just going to stop this slideshow and then sort of talk you through the registration process so that we can see if we can get you set up. I don't know, Michelle, if you think it's worth us splitting into 2 groups so people can ask questions, or if you think it's worth us doing this as one group.
I think with a number of people, perhaps we just do it as one group, because we've got to take our team out, about 20 people, I think, probably. So yeah. So.
Great. Has everyone got that address that I put up, or do you want me to stick the link in the chat for you?
Kim's put it in the chat. She's done it.
Brilliant. Thanks, Kim. That's perfect. So what I'm going to just do so that you can see, I'm going to a dummy site so that I don't create an account and mess up any of our data. But when you get to the employer portal, if you're logged on, you should be able to find a register for free assessment button. So you can see that there. So if you click on that, you then should go through to registering. So I'm going to just put in something. Bake into here so that I can test it. So you should be able to put your email address in and your first and last name, your job title, and then your job role under here. Hopefully there would be one there you might fit into, and if there isn't, there's always the other box as well. But you can see here a lot of us are the people who fill this in are often from these roles. So I'll just stick that in there. And then you can search for your employer. So whoever employs you, you can search here. So you can search here if you look. We've got lots from Companies House, so you might be able to find your company here. So I'm just going to click on one here if you can find it there. If you're having any problems with any of these stages, do put it in the chat, or just put your hand up or come off mute. So you found your employer, should come in with your company's number if it's there. And then you can tick whether you're in the private, public, or third sector. Mine's come up as a dormant company that I've just selected there as a test. But if it comes, it should give you an industry sector when you're registering. But if that's not the right one for you, you can get rid of it, and you can find your industry sector here by just picking yourself. So you can do that yourself there. And then you pick how many employees you have here, and this is important. So if you're a consultant or you don't employ anyone, or you're a sole trader, then you can have 0. If you then you've got all the different levels of employment there, but this is important because it will just take you to the right self-assessment for you. So click how many employees that you've got. And then it asks you here if your organisation is a representative or a trade body that represents other organisations, because we do have people like Make UK or others that would be completing this as a representative body. So I'm going to click no there. And then it asks you if you're completing for a whole employer of a site. So if you're part of a larger organisation and you just want to represent the site that is based in Lancashire, then you can tick that you're completing for a site or a department. Or if you're completing, for example, for your HR department, not for the whole organisation, you can pick site or department. If you are the lead for, say, social value for a whole organisation and you want to complete it for the work of the whole organisation, you can click whole employer. And that's much more likely to be whole employer if you are a smaller employer. So that's your choice there. Then it asks you if you've ever worked with your local careers hub. So this should be yes for all of you, because you are here working in the role of enterprise advisor. And so I don't know, Kim, if you just while I'm going through, if you can pick up the answer in the chat, and if you don't know, I will pick it up in a second. And then are you happy to share information about your self-assessment with your careers hub? We would recommend here that you say yes. So what this means is that your careers hub can then support you with improvements that you may want to make based on your results. So it means that they can help you and think about, actually, if you say you're lower on standard 4, providing essential skills, they can let you know if they've got any programs that might support you with that, or any support that they might have at a local level. Again, you can change this at any time in your profile, so you can click that yes there because you know the careers hub, and then they will know that you completed it, and they can help you to make any improvements, put you into programs. But you can also select no, and that can be changed any time in your profile. And then you just complete a password, which I think has to be 10 and have some special characters in it, and one number. I should have remembered what I just put, so that's not very helpful. And then we've got a privacy notice and terms and conditions here. And as I said, we're compliant. So once you've had a look at those to check that you're happy, you can tick there and then complete the registration. Which
Erica,
hasn't gone. Yes.
Do you? I can't remember. If you're a sole trader, how do you get past the employer search?
So let's go.
Nicola's just said she's worked it out.
Brilliant.
Oh, you're getting stuck on the company search. Yeah. So have you got past that? Oh, good. I'm not getting past the password section here, which is not helpful. I'm not being compliant. See if I can get past so I can show you the rest. Not managing to get through this. See if anyone. Right, so so when you get through, hopefully some of you did that much more quickly than me, who couldn't get a password that matched. And then up here, it tells you a bit about us, and there's a nice animation here, but this is how you start. You go on to free self-assessment. Probably some of you have got here already, but just to let you know, even if you've started the assessment, if you wanted to look here and you needed to speak to other people in your organisation to find out any information, you can preview the questions here. So you can click on here, you can download them, and say if you wanted to speak to other people and you don't have all the information, you can review what you would need, gather the information, and you can also send that PDF to anyone else in your organisation if you needed them to answer some of the questions. So that gives you that option if you get stuck. There's also some top tips, but we've taken you quite a lot here, but that's again about what kind of information you might need to gather. And then here to start the self-assessment. So if I click on there, it takes you straight to the start. We've got a bit more about your employer here, and this is just because if it was in the registration, you wouldn't be needing to update it when you self-assess in a year, and these things might change. So it's asking if you work with an activity provider to deliver activities to schools and colleges or young people. So that might be with somebody like Talent Foundry, or with BITC, or with somebody who might be helping you provide some of your work with schools and colleges. I'm going to click yes. Do you work directly with schools and colleges? I'm going to click yes. And then what area of the country do you currently offer? So that might just be one area of the country, or you might actually be working across other careers hubs areas as well. So you can tick as many or all if you work across the country. And the reason, even though we're England only, that we have Scotland, Northern Ireland and Wales is because we've had lots of chats with those areas, and lots of our companies are not only England only. So we just want to make sure that you can register where you're working. And then it just asks you a bit about if you're recruiting any young people age 16 to 24 through these pathways. So you can click either yes or no to these, and then you save and continue. And just to let you know, this save and continue button means that you can stop this at any point and come back to it. So you don't have to do the whole thing in one go. And this tells you how far along you are. And what I just want to reassure you that on standard 1, it has more questions than any of the other standards. So what you'll notice is when you finish the standard 1 questions, this bar jumps quite far along. So that's the majority of the questions is at the start. And so you start on this. So this, you're in first standard, and it's just about selecting what you do. So in the past year, which of these encounters have you engaged in to support young people with their careers education? So just tick any that you've done, and whether it's in person or virtual, and then you can continue. And then, so these are the ones where perhaps you might need to talk to somebody else if you don't have that. So in the past year, how many young people have you reached through careers education encounters? You might have a rough idea, or you might not know the exact number. If you don't know the exact number because you haven't been tracking it, then you can do an approximate band here. So you might not be tracking everything, but you might go, actually, I know that we've spoken or worked with approximately 100 to 200 young people, so I'm going to put that one down. And then it'll ask you which year groups, and so you continue there going through. One thing just to let you know, that you can, if you think, oh, I just want to get to the end and do most of them, but I need to come back and change one, you can copy an assessment when you've completed it, and you can copy and paste it, change that one answer, and you can delete it afterwards, which is here. You can delete a self-assessment if you want to. So there are lots of options to come back. You can do that within 24 hours. If you have a self-assessment that you don't want to keep on there, we can also do that manually for you if you email the employer standards inbox. So there's lots of options there. So you go through and you answer questions through each of these standards, and that should take around 25 minutes if you have the information. But as I said, you could either guess now, carry on to the end, or you can save and continue and come back later. And then when you get to the end, that's when you'll get to your recommendation report. And in the dashboard, once you've completed, that's where you can access things like your progression dashboard and your recommendations report, and you can log in at any time and come back to that information to continue thinking about how you use the resources. So I'm just going to stop sharing there and check in on, apart from Nicola, who seems to have worked out the issue of logging in, has anyone had any issues? Does anyone need any support just to register and get started, or got any questions or feedback? Sudden silence. I'm also really always interested in any feedback, like, do you think you would use this? Do you think it would be helpful for you? Can you see how it might support your school or college or other businesses? We're always looking to understand how we can improve anything or the process. So whether that's now and you've got some comments you want to share, or after you've used it and gone through the self-assessment, we're always really interested to hear how it's being used and anything else you might want or need in the future. Michelle, it doesn't sound like there's lots of questions at the moment, but it might be because there's been a lot of information and people have just registered. I guess for me, it'd be really helpful if everyone can find the time to complete that assessment now you have registered. I'd be really interested in hearing more about how you found it, what you think you might do as a result of it, because ultimately this isn't about completing a self-assessment, it's about the impact it's going to have afterwards. So when you did it, what was your reflection, and what's the one thing that you're going to change this year, and what impact is that going to have on the young people that you're working with? So I think that's the really key thing for me, is thinking about that impact and that change, and any ways you think you might use it. But Neil, I can see a hand up.
Yeah, sorry, I'm out and about, so I've not got the camera on, but just a comment in support. Whilst on this call, I've just completed that exercise, and it was excellent. It was a really comprehensive run through, very easy to do, took less than 25 minutes. But what I am really impressed by is the benchmarking that comes at the end. So it helps you understand where you sit relative to Northwest, relative to your sector that you operate in, and it helps you see how you compare. And I've got our report and I'm quite comfortable with it, to be honest. I can see what we do and what we could do better. So I just wanted to give you that first-hand, frontline perspective, really. So thank you.
Thanks, Neil, and that's really helpful to hear. I think that's exactly what we're trying to do. And some of the other comments that we've had that quite often, for me, is why we built this, is when people have reflected and then they've realised, actually, under Be Inclusive, we've not really thought about working with this cohort of young people before, or quite a few of our employers have not realised that they weren't supporting young people with special educational needs and disabilities. And it's made them reflect, then they've gone back to their hub, they've done a bit of work, and it's opened up completely new possibilities just from having that reflection space and having those conversations. And for me, that's what it's all about, so that you can really make use of it in the way you want to as a business. And as you say, it helps you in that anonymous way really benchmark yourself and go, actually, is my program high quality compared to others? And sometimes that might give you a bit of shock on some things, and sometimes it might give you loads of reassurance to say, oh yeah, actually we're doing a lot better than we thought we would. So that's really helpful to hear, Neil. Yeah, Daniel, I was going to hand to you now anyway, because I want to make sure you've got enough time for your AOB.
You're all right. I've just got just a general question. Thanks, Neil, for that. And obviously the conversation we had a couple of weeks ago, I think it's really important that in Lancashire, we've probably done it just a little bit differently, because that we do have the skills pledge, and it's really important, and most of you are all signed up to the skills pledge. But this is a really useful tool to benchmark yourself to see where you think you are, to maybe what you are and what you're doing, but also you get some resources. So this is why now we will be scaling this model up, and obviously when we get to talk to further in the agenda, you'll understand how it segues in. But thanks for the people that have had the inputs. It's really important, and we've got obviously people on the call that actually already do it. So yeah, it's around now. Start spreading the message and sharing with all your supply chain. But that's all. I just wanted to comment that before you hand over to me.
Yeah, Danny, I think I'm done now. I think that's everything I've got. We're here. There is an employer standards inbox, which I don't know, actually, Kim, I don't know if you've got that we can maybe pop in the chat. I think it's on the slides and they're going to be shared afterwards. But if you've got any questions, we're always here to support. If you've got any problems technically, or if you've got any things that you'd like to share. And yeah, for us, it's getting this scale, because what we want to do is make sure that employers that are engaging with schools and colleges, there's a limited amount of resource. People are really pushed. So if they are engaging, we want to make sure that engagement is as higher quality as possible, so that business are getting what they want out of it, and so are the young people. So if we can get this embedded, we hope it will support to do that. So thanks, Danny, and thanks, Michelle, for the opportunity to come and speak today.
Well, thank you, Erica. Thank you. It's really, really useful. Part of that process of continuous improvement that, you know, is really important to all of us working with schools and in business. So we'll just hand over to Danny now for the any other business.
It's not coming through, Michelle.
Has it not come through?
Yeah,
Is it there?
I've got it
Yeah.
now. We've got
Yeah.
it now. We've got it now. So
Right.
yeah, I just wanted just to really introduce you to a couple of colleagues in a moment. We've got a couple of exciting events and opportunities, not just for you as enterprise advisors. Again, it's that, you know, your wider network, your wider kind of supply chain. I will hand over, but we've been successful. There's been 10 projects nationally that JP Morgan put out a tender process at the probably summer last year, and we were successful along with 9 other hubs. We are one of 2 hubs in the Northwest to deliver what is called the Future Ready programme, which is a 3-year programme where we'll support 365 of our most disadvantaged learners, working with 25 schools across the patch. And the idea is that in a minute when I hand over, we are looking at doing our soft launch on a series of LMI and sector-based sessions, and we do need some support from employers. However, we are hosting a series of webinars as well, how you can get involved and support our modern work experience projects and our vision moving forward. So again, if you want to know more about the work that we're doing, we'd employ you to kind of engage with us on that note. So without kind of further ado, Michelle, if you just change that, and Bradley, are you the projects officer? Are you on the call?
Yep. All right. Hello, everyone.
All
right. Hello, everyone. I'm Bradley. I'm on the JP Morgan project. Yeah, we've got some events coming up, and we've booked 3 dates in May where we're going to be presenting to up to 50 school children at a time on various career options that might be open to them. So these are 12 to 13-year-olds, year 8s. Yeah, we're just looking for employers that can come in and have a stand at our events. What we're looking for really is we're looking for an employer that can present career options and look at kind of things, share a general advice about what kind of jobs might be available, what jobs maybe a 12 or 13-year-old might not be aware of, and then what those routes are, how, you know, some basic advice as to what they might be looking for. But as it's 12 to 13-year-olds, we're also looking at something quite engaging. So I'm at a jobs fair at the moment, and we've got a kind of a number of different activities in ways which people can engage with the public. We're looking to replicate that on these LMI sessions with these 12 to 13-year-olds. So we're in, as you can see from the picture there, we've got the locations and the dates. So on the 8th of May, we're at the Impact Centre in Burnley. On the 15th of May, we're at Ewood Park in Blackburn. And then our final sessions in Blackpool on the 22nd of May at the football stadium there. As I said, there'll be about 50 school children in the morning, and then another new group that will come in on the afternoon. If you can only do a morning or an afternoon, that's fine. But what we're looking for is as many people as possible who might be able to be available just to improve their social value and get themselves out there to promote to the young people in Lancashire, really.
Brilliant, thanks Bradley. And just to add to that, so basically it's going to be in two kind of sections. It's going to be a sector carousel and then like a skills arcade. So think of if you do work with someone and if you'd like to support it and you have activities ready to go, but if you've got an idea and you're maybe just a bit unsure of how to get that off the ground, we will co-design with you. So it is around that interactive piece, kind of bringing local labour market alive, because obviously if you do join the workplace webinars, you'll get to hear a little bit more, and we don't really have time this morning. We can pick it up at a future network meeting around the other kind of year 9 and year 10 element of this program, because these young people will be with us for 3 years. So that was just something I just forgot right at the start. So if I just hand over to John, we've got another exciting, I've got to say this right, the Blackpool Zoo STEM Symposium. I'll never get that right, but if I just hand over to my colleague John, he can tell you a little bit more about what this event coming up.
Thanks, Danny. Yeah, this is just a bit of a plea to any STEM related businesses out there. 23rd of April, we're running a STEM symposium, and the aim of the event is basically to link STEM businesses with teachers of STEM subjects in the curriculum. It's going to be basically a full day of mainly networking, sharing of ideas, sharing of resources, and with the hope that you'll be able to build some kind of productive links with schools to be able to take forward. All the information is there on the slide, and I've popped a little bit in the chat as well. So if you are interested in finding out more, want to come along, just click on the link, fill in the form, and either Sam or myself will be in touch. Thank you.
Brilliant, thanks John. And then it's just kind of a last couple of things that will be coming up to you in the shape of your EA network meetings on the 29th of April at Deepdale. The home of football, may I say, is our annual inclusion summit. So if you're an EA that supports one of our SEN or AP schools, it's a really, really good day, and it's probably really, really useful with the workshops that you sign up here. And then it's just really a save the date. More information will be going out. Is our annual Careers Hub conference, which this year is back at Blackburn Rovers. Other football clubs are gladly available on the 1st of July. Again, there will be an employer theme to that, but again, if you support one of your schools, it's always a good event where you can actually spend some time with your careers leaders off-site. Michelle, do you just want to just move? And just before I wrap up, obviously, I just want to thank everyone for the call. We're pretty much bang on time, but obviously we need to know what we're doing and how we're doing things right, and whether we do things face to face, virtual, try and get a blend. So if you can scan the QR code or click the link, and it would be great if you could do that now while you're on the call. There's only a couple of little questions. That'd be brilliant, because without your feedback, we don't really know what your kind of views are, other than if you speak with your EA. So it is really important that moving forward, what we're doing, are they timed enough, is everything right? So if you can quickly do that now, if you've got a phone, or obviously you can click on that link and complete that, we'd greatly appreciate that. But I think as well, just on behalf of Michelle, she puts in a lot of hard work to get all the slides out to you. So just on behalf of myself and colleagues, we just want to thank Michelle for the work that she's done picking this piece of work up until our replacement for Michelle Fox starts next month. But thank you and have a great weekend. Michelle, over to you. 2 minutes over.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thanks everyone. Thanks, Erica. I know Kim's gone, but thanks for your input there. And I hope everyone finds the use of the standards really, really helpful and useful for your business. So please do your evaluation when we hand over to our new person who's leading on enterprise advisors. And this feedback will be really helpful for them as well in terms of what their next steps. So thank you, everybody, and have a good weekend and a happy Easter if you're taking Easter holidays off.